With our last keynote speaker. I just want to say welcome back to everybody. I'm glad everybody made it out so late. I know it's been a long day. We have actually a special treat for you guys tonight with our final keynote speaker. It's a personal mentor of mine and a mentor to some of us in here also. So it's an amazing opportunity for me to introduce this person. So Dr. Talamantes, Efrain Talamantes, is an internal medicine physician who received his medical degree at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA and obtained his master's degree in business administration at Emory University College of Business in Atlanta, Georgia. He completed his internal medicine residency at the University of California, Davis in Sacramento. Dr. Talamantes also completed a Robert Wood Johnson Clinical Scholar at UCLA in the Veterans Affairs with a master's in health policy and management at the Fielding School of Public Health at UCLA. Dr. Talamantes is actually the co-founder of MeMentor.org, a national online mentoring community for aspiring pre-health students just like us. We all know that Dr. Talamantes is absolutely passionate, and I mean passionate about mentoring us pre-health students, which will help increase the number of leaders and diversity in the workforce. So if you guys would please put your hands together for Dr. Efrain Talamantes.
Century, doing something mean to it, do it better than anybody you ever seen do it.
How's everybody doing today? Can you guys hear me? All right. That was Alex's suggestion. I don't even know that song. That's like, I was probably studying for the MCAT. No, it's a real treat to be here today. Coming back to a pre-health conference where I get to share my story, some of the ways that I think about my path getting into medicine really started where you are. And so I am very familiar with the process that you're undertaking and the path you're trying to blaze for your communities as true leaders for change, right? I think many of us have a vision of what we really want for our communities, and these are the types of conferences that really help make that possible. So before I get started with my presentation, I did want to take the time to thank the Latino Physicians of California who helped fund this conference. And just so you know their vision, they envision a future where health disparities are eliminated and optimal health and well-being is assured for all communities. But I also want to take the time to thank the board who put this together, and they were just sharing that they really didn't have a Christmas break or New Year's break because they were working so hard to make sure this was possible for you guys, and you guys had a really nice treat all day. And so Tanya, Emmanuel, Cassandra, Junior, Alfred, Claudia, Alex, Rick, Eddie, Dan, and all under the leadership of Dr. Davidson Boyd. I'm not sure if she's here, but if you guys could just stand so we can give you guys a big round of applause, please. Thank you. And I just want to mention one other thing is that I'm here in front of one of my mentors actually, Dr. Luis Macias, and I consider him a mentor and now a personal friend. He's a plastic surgeon because he actually was the first person who I was walking down Bruin Walk at UCLA, and if you ever come visit UCLA, there's a really nice walk. If you're going downhill, it's easy. If you're going uphill, it's pretty heavy. So I was walking, really trying to get to class and huffing and puffing. And so he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, do you speak Spanish?" And I was like, "Hey, man, what? Do I have a nopal on my head? Or what's, and that's a cactus because in Mexico there's a lot of cactus. So I'm like, "What? How did you figure it out, man? You must, So anyways, but he got me involved in Chicanos Latinos for Community Medicine. And that was an organization with the vision to provide healthcare to underserved Latinos in LA and the surrounding area. And so I got to go to my first health fair because of him and other individuals just like him. And I discovered the power of really putting education and combining it with my passion for social justice, and seeing that, yes, as a future physician, I can continue to teach, I can continue to give back, and more importantly, make sure that no one in my community is facing these unjust healthcare challenges by themselves. I wanted to be out there with them. So I'll just start off by saying I'm an internist, and I'm wearing my white coat, and I think I'm not seeing patients today. I had the chance to interview some students at UCLA who are interviewing for medical school, and so it's really a privilege, and that's the reason I'm wearing the coat, not because I want to prove that I'm a physician, but it's because it is a privilege, and it's one that takes a long, long time. And so I know many of you guys are first generation, you're coming from very humble beginnings, you're the first to try to really get into this field, and you see the path, and you're just thinking, oh my God, when is it going to ever end? What else do I have to do? You're checking off one box, and you got 10 more to go. And then you finish those 10, and you got 10 more to go, right? And so it is a long path. And so once you get to this position, it is a true privilege and one that you must honor. But I want to sort of take this back to what pre-med culture is all about. I don't know if this is working. You could click to the next one. Yeah. So, and you guys have seen these funny memes, right? So as a pre-health student, you have all these sort of views, right? So if you go and talk to your family, they're already trying to get you to fix their elbow because they messed it up at work. If you go talk to your friends back home, they're thinking, man, you must be a genius if you're going to go into to medical school. And in reality, it's a lot of work. I mean, most of the time you're spending in front of books and very complicated books trying to memorize all sorts of very complicated formulas and material and memorizing. But I think one of the things that I discovered early on was what you guys did today. So I was very intimidated, never saw myself as a physician because both my parents only went to the 3rd grade, right? And the only thing they wanted me to do was go to community college and graduate so that I could get a real estate license so I could sell some homes, maybe even buy us a home, but to sort of make ends meet. And so when I got to UCLA as an undergrad, and people tell you to start exploring, and you're like, well, maybe I'll be a lawyer, or maybe I'll be an engineer, or someone in business, be a successful leader. You sort of start getting all these negative sort of views on, man, you can't do that, And in pre-med culture or pre-health culture, it's even worse, right? Because most of the time you're saying, well, I want to be a plastic surgeon. And people will tell you, you got to be really smart to do that. It's like, well, don't I look smart? I guess not. You got to get a 4.0. You got to get a 40 on the MCAT. I mean, they just start throwing all these obstacles at you, right? And you've already got your list of 10 things that you're trying to get done, plus people are being negative, or they're not sharing the notes with you, or they're not trying to be cooperative and just tell you when the damn test time is. I was 1 hour late to one of my tests at one point because people told me the wrong thing, right? So it's a pretty brutal culture, and I know it's changing because of people like us making sure that this pre-health conference is possible, not only in our communities, but all over the state, all over the country. I mean, this is something we've taken on seriously because we need to change this pre-med culture. So what I'm going to do right now, before I get into my presentation, is I want you guys to all stand up, everybody. And if you're not next to someone you don't know, you should be. And I want you guys to share at least one thing you learned today that you didn't know. Actually, that someone may have told you the opposite before, right? I want you to turn to your right or left, pick, it doesn't matter, but get a conversation going, and I want you guys to exchange some information that you learned today that you didn't know before that's really helping you understand where you're going to go next? Please. All right, guys. I said one thing. You guys are getting carried away. I'm just kidding. No, well, thank you so much for working with me. This is actually new. I've never done that before. But in thinking about what I was going to tell you guys today, I think that's really the power of being involved in these pre-health organizations and taking it to a whole new level. Because one of the things that I struggle with a lot when I take care of patients or when I'm advising students about going into medicine is that a lot of people are in the dark, completely in the dark. They have no idea how to take care of themselves. They have no idea what steps they need to take to get to the next level. And it's not fair, especially in the day of Google, right? You just Google, how do I get into med school? And there's a lot of advice. Now, a lot of it is bad, like I said earlier, but you guys as a core group are breaking down those barriers. So the second thing that I wanted to share with you guys today was the fact that it is MLK's birthday, and a lot of us have a 3-day weekend thanks to him. But I wanted to share, he would be about 86 if he was with us today, but I wanted to share a part of his speech he gave the night before he passed away. The speech is alluding to getting to the mountaintop. And maybe you guys have heard this story before, but a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell amongst robbers, who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now, by chance, a priest was going down that road. And when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. A Levite, which is a Jewish prominent person at the time, he also saw him, and he walked on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring oil and wine. Then he set him on his animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii, or some cash, and gave it to the inner's keeper, saying, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back." And so the question is, which of these 3 do you think proved to be a neighbor to a man who fell among robbers? And what Martin Luther King did was take this parable and break it apart in his comments, and you guys can probably Google and listen to it yourself. But the real question that he was asking was, well, what was the priest or the Levite thinking? Right? What were they thinking? And he actually got to go to Jerusalem and got to go to Jericho and went down that windy path, and he said, wow, it's about 1,400 miles high. It's a very windy road. It's very dangerous. And people got killed there all the time. And so maybe the priest thought that, wow, this man is in need, but he's going to rob me too. Or he's going to kill me, right? It's a setup. And so what MLK did was he said, well, what was the Samaritan thinking? Right? Why would he stop? Right? And I think that this goes along nicely with what you guys are doing, being part of this mission and coming together and really thinking about how you're going to help your communities as a future nurse, as a future doctor, is you're starting to ask yourself, what would you do, right? Would you just go and pass? You see the need, you see someone asking for help, are you going to pass on the other side, right? And you're going to ask, well, what's going to happen to me? 10 years later, I have to make all these sacrifices, I have to make an investment, I have to, skip out on Thursday night's party because I got chemistry the next day. There's a lot of kinds of decisions you got to make. Oh, I can't date this person because I got to really focus. I can't sort of, work because I got to study. I mean, there's huge sacrifices in thinking about what's going to happen to you if you continue down this path. But what MLK did was he said, what the Samaritan was thinking was, what's going to happen to this poor man who's dying? What's going to happen to him, right? Not what's going to happen to me, but what's going to happen to him. And those are the types of questions I think in this profession you're going to ask yourself constantly. Me taking care of a homeless man last week and going in there and feeling a little awkward about how he smelled, about how he looked, by the way he was looking at me. And easily could have said, well, the nurse, you should take care of this and that, and I'll be back. But really asking myself, what's going to happen to this person if I don't do a really good job? If I don't take off his shoes and take care of his feet, right? Whatever it is you have to do. Those are the kinds of sacrifices you're going to be asked to make. And I think as you did today, you're asking, how is it that I can help the other person? Because if I don't, what's going to happen to them, right? And that's very profound in our own communities because a lot of people will see need and just keep walking by, right? And so this brings me sort of to my concluding message, and this is one about mentoring and why a lot of us have taken this on seriously, and that's why we promote these conferences and we're here, because we ask ourselves these same questions from the same perspective. If we don't mentor you guys, then what's going to happen to you, right? If you don't go back to the Coachella Valley and provide services that are desperately needed here, what's going to happen to that community, right? And as I started to think about this, now finishing medical school and being a doctor and having all these other opportunities, made a commitment to really stick to mentoring and figuring out how we can best mentor students. And I don't know if you had a chance to stop by our table earlier with some of our leaders who are here. If you guys are part of Alliance and Mentorship, Mi Mentor, if you guys could stand. Because I know they were here really early today, tabling. That's Alexis and Shao. And so the cool thing is that, I had this vision of continuing this mentoring beyond the walls of just UCLA, beyond the walls of Southern California, and really moving this throughout the state and throughout the country, and it's picking up a lot of steam. And it was folks like you that humor me, actually. They have to deal with me and a lot of the feedback I have to give them, and, let's do this and that. But it's been a really neat journey because we are constantly asking this question of what's going to happen to our communities if we do not provide this mentoring, right? You've heard the statistics. You've seen all the negativity around minorities and people who are disadvantaged socioeconomically and not making it. We need to change that completely around, right? And that's the mission that the team today in putting this conference together has taken. So if you get a chance, check out mimentor.org. It's a website where we're really trying to promote this message of mentoring and giving you guys the right resources at the right time, at the right place, at the right location. Because we know that if you're growing up out here, it's very hard for you to get into a research lab at UCLA or work with someone like me if you're not in that proximity, right? But maybe if you get an opportunity to come out during one of your breaks or during one of your sessions, you take advantage of that, but you have to know about it, right? And so we're trying to put all this information out there as soon as we can. And I would say, bear with us. We're raising money to really make this more effective for you and easier to use, because this is a grassroots effort. We've raised every dollar. I've put in some money myself, but we've raised every dollar out of just asking people support mentoring so we can get more health professionals to serve our community. And people are responding in all kinds of ways. And they're going to continue to respond. And as you become health professionals, you're going to continue to respond. And so we're really changing the way that our communities approach getting into medicine, because it's no longer a foreign thing. It's no longer, oh, you're in the dark. Now you know. And now you're going to spread that message to people that aren't here today because of all sorts of reasons, right? So check that out. We have about 1,000 mentees, mentors, primarily mentees because there's a lot more of you guys, hundreds of undergrad campuses, over 40 medical schools and other health professions programs. There's all sorts of opportunities. We promoted this conference, for example, so some of you might be here because of that. We get about 6,000 page views per month, in the sense that, there's a huge demand for this. And so we will continue to build this out, so it's a very good resource for you guys. But what I would say is, one of the neat things is that mentoring starts the moment you get on there. So many of you guys are the trailblazers for your own community, and the moment you get on there, people see your face, they get to read your story, and they start relating to you and saying, yeah, if Efrain's a bio major, man, I could do that too. Why not? This person's doing chemistry, I could do chemistry too. Why not? But when you don't see that, right? Because I've been in those classrooms where I'm there and it's like everyone around me doesn't look like me, doesn't think like me, doesn't care about the things that I care about. It's very intimidating and lonely. And so we're trying to make this as visual as possible so that it's within reach and you don't feel like you're alone in this path. So we have some really inspirational videos, and we'll promote some of the videos that were put together today, some of the photos. Again, we're lucky in the sense, and I've been across the country, but if you land in, let's say Alabama, and you're a certain race, ethnicity, you might be the only one there. And all of a sudden you say that you want to go to medical school, trust me, that negativity that I talked about earlier will overwhelm you, and you'll just give up. Why? Why am I going to put myself through that, plus that, when no one's really supporting me, right? There might be one person, one teacher, one mentor to help you, but we want to change that so that we're mentors to people across the country. And it is a collaboration. It is an alliance. So if you have an organization that you're starting, that you're already part of, that you're promoting, that's providing these types of resources, we want to just tack it on there and promote it, so that the moment someone graduates from high school, is thinking about going to your college campus, they already know that first step to take, right? Because many times you show up and you're like, man, well, where do I start? Where do I go? That information should already be out there for folks. And we do this all for free. We're not trying to make any profit off this. We're trying to really change and make an impact for all our communities, because they need help. The biggest reward we get, or the biggest reward I get, is when I show up with one of you guys to clinic and they start calling you doctor. I won. We won, right? That's the kind of stuff we were trying to do. Because then you believe it. And when you're studying for that MCAT and you're stressed out, you'll remember that patient who called you a doctor. You'll remember that patient who says, thank you so much. You're going to make an amazing nurse, right? That's the kind of world we want to live in. So I just want to leave you, these are some of the students at UCLA, Drew, who I have the pleasure of working with as well. And although they're super busy, a lot of them try to be at these conferences. They can't because the first few years of medical school are really intense. But they send their regards. And more importantly, this is where you're going to be, okay? And we talked about some of the hard work, but there is a lot of fun in the type of work we do. And so don't forget that as well. With that, again, I'd just like to thank all of you guys for being here. Happy birthday, MLK, and thank you for inspiring us and making us better people to serve the people we care about back home.
So yeah, this is pretty much, we're excited you guys all showed up. Just to emphasize everything that our speakers talked about, whether it was Dr. Latimer, Dr. Nicky, or Dr. Talamantes, there's just a community of physicians, practitioners, nurses, everything for you guys, and that are willing to help you guys reach your goal. And that's their goal. So, we hope that you guys could take advantage of these opportunities and all follow the same mission that we follow, which is an altruistic pursuit of giving back at every time and making sure that you don't forget where you come from and make sure that you have an impact on others' lives, not just try to better yours. So thank you guys for coming, and we hope you guys enjoyed it.